What's up, Space Pirates? This is your Admiral, the effortlessly aggressive Dr. Disaster. And the Switch 2 controversy keeps on getting worse. People don't like the price hike for the Switch 2 games, and rather than show a little bit of humility and understanding, Nintendo executives keep on saying ridiculous nonsense, the sort of crap which afterwards make them look in the mirror and say,
"I'm retarded?"
Every once in a while, this sort of thing happens in gaming. A spokesperson for a video game company will come out and say something which pisses off gamers and turns into a slogan to be used against the offending company. Ubisoft, for example, had that moment last year where they said they wanted you to be comfortable not owning your games, and look how well that worked out for them. Or, look at that Diablo mobile game they announced several years ago, where fans were disappointed because they thought Diablo 4 was going to get announced, and when people showed their disappointment, the dude on the stage said, "Do you guys not have phones?" Well, what Nintendo just said is likely going to go down in gaming history as something similar to that.
I've made a huge mistake.
The head of Nintendo of America, Doug Bowser, just came out and said they know that some people won't be able to afford the Switch 2, and as a solution to that problem, he told gamers to go out and buy a Switch 1, which is about as tone deaf as it gets. Once again, this is basically Nintendo coming right out and telling us how out of touch they are with regular people.
Is he listening to us? I can't tell.
He's listening. He's not understanding.
Yeah, he doesn't even get us, man. We're talking about you.
Predictably, this quote of Doug Bowser's is blowing up and spreading all across social media. I expect this will become the rallying cry and slogan that gamers use to push back against Nintendo during this whole price hike debacle. If I were an advisor on public relations for Nintendo, I know exactly what I would tell these people in response to all this very stupid shit that they just keep on saying.
Hey lady, shut up!
Alright, me hearties, make sure you hit the like button on this video in order to fend off the evil algorithm monster, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so yet, and don't forget to follow me over on X or Twitter or whatever you like to call it. I keep a list on there of games lousy with wokeness pinned to my account at all times for your reference. My handle on the platform is Dr. Disaster 1. But, in any event, let's talk about what was said and how Nintendo just keeps on digging themselves a deeper hole with gamers. These are unforced errors, mind you. They have the option to just shut up and let the market do as it will, but apparently that is too difficult to accomplish. This console launch for the Nintendo Switch 2 is starting to sound like the shitty messaging on pricing that we saw back when Microsoft went from the Xbox 360 to the Xbox One, or when Sony went from the PS2 to the PS3. To be clear, I'm sure that Nintendo will still sell a shitload of units, but there are at least some people who are going to say hell no to this console and its games until the price goes down. That being said, you just know that if there is some kind of disruption in the number of sales that Nintendo gets, that the media is simply going to blame tariffs and use it as a political weapon, just like we see here in the headline of this article from CBC, which we're going to read some of this because it's actually the origin of the quotes from Doug Bowser. But look at the headline and then the byline. The headline says, for Nintendo Switch 2, Trump tariffs could be an unbeatable final boss. And then the byline says, Switch 2's price tag worried gamers. It could be the start of industry-wide price hikes. And the way that this is worded implies that the Switch 2 prices are a result of the tariffs, and they are setting up any future price hikes in the industry as being the fault of the tariffs as well. It doesn't come right out and say it, of course, but the article is deliberately associating these things, and it is just disgusting, especially considering Nintendo has come right out and told us that the prices of the Switch 2 and its games were figured out long ago. But whatever. We're going to skip down in the article past their summary of everything that has happened with the Switch 2 since it was announced last week. We're going to skip down to this point here where it says Nintendo hasn't yet commented on the negative reaction to the Switch 2's price during a media roundtable Q&A with the Switch 2's hardware architects last Wednesday. A moderator quickly deflected a question about the price, saying the panel was there to answer questions about the fun stuff instead. Nintendo of America's president Doug Bowser was slightly more forthcoming that day, and I will give the dude this, at least he was willing to answer questions, but man, he really shouldn't have. In any case, here's what he said. As we look at Nintendo Switch 2 and think about the feature sets that I talked about, we believe that the pricing is appropriate for the value of the machine and the gameplay experience overall, he said. Bowser, who spoke with CBC prior to the US pre-order pause, noted that the previous generation of Switch devices will still be supported, including with a selection of new games coming out later this year. We recognize there are some people that may not be able to afford the Switch 2's price point. That's why we wanted to make the other Switch platforms available so people still have an opportunity to come into our gaming universe, be a part of these characters and these worlds, and see value, if you will, in whatever rung of the platform they come in. Now, to anyone who might not know it, that is definitely not what a gamer wants to hear. To our ears, the guy might as well have said, "Stop being poor, gamer chuds." This is especially damaging considering all the nickel and diming that Nintendo is clearly aiming to do, what with the button that we learned about on their controller that doesn't even do anything unless you have a Nintendo Switch Online subscription, or with the digital console instruction manual that you have to pay $10 for. Now, to be clear, I expect that Nintendo will have a hard time keeping the Switch 2 on the shelves despite all the bad customer relations that they're building right now. I suspect that they will have a launch similar to the PS5 where only a limited number of consoles will trickle out, but whereas the PS5 launched during the COOF, which made acquiring certain parts tricky, I expect Nintendo will actually be manufacturing artificial scarcity to some degree. That is often how a lot of these companies drive up demand when they have issues like this, while avoiding scrutiny from the media for lower sales output. They can simply say, well, it's hard to keep up with demand, and the game journalists will eat that shit up, and any discrepancy between their story and actual reality will be eagerly explained away as a result of tariffs. That's my prediction anyhow. The Switch 2 will sell fine, but not as well as the Switch 1. But I'm gonna leave it there. What do you think the Switch 2 launch will look like? Drop your thoughts into the comment section below, and we will talk there. Thanks for watching me, Hearties. If you haven't already, your Admiral is inviting you to subscribe to the channel and become a part of the crew. Life as a space pirate may not be glamorous, but there's always plenty of booty.